Shwmai a croeso cynnes, and welcome to the What's Your Story podcast. I'm James Owen, a Welsh filmmaker and storyteller, and I'm passionate about sharing stories. This podcast is all about business owners sharing their journey, and we'll be speaking with directors, entrepreneurs and creatives from all across Wales to learn from their experiences. We believe everyone has a story to tell. What's your story? Shwmai a croeso, welcome to the next episode of What's Your Story. And today we are going to be speaking to somebody from Silicon. You might have never heard of it, but it is making waves. We've got somebody here today who I've gotten to know over these years of running my business, and someone who is very well known in the world of business and has lots of connections. And this man is an online training specialist. He helps businesses get their online training sorted so they can educate their audiences. And today from Silicon is Gareth. Thank you for coming down, Gareth.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invite.
So, well, it's very welcome. You've been on my list for some time, and I just forgotten to ask you. So apologies. You should have been on a lot sooner, Gareth.
Well, you've got better at it now, so now's the time to be here.
Absolutely. So for those who don't know, where's Silicon?
Ammanford.
Ammanford?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. It's a bit of a play on words. No. It's something I've used for quite a little while now on networking. Say, I'm from Ammanford, also known as Silicon. Because with the history of coal mining and all the rest, being coal town, then it sort of works. And there's a lot of similarities with Silicon Valley, and it's on the West Coast.
I like it.
Yeah, a lot of similarities.
It's sticking, Gareth.
Yeah.
We'll make it stick.
I own the domain name, so we'll go with it now.
There are the epicenter of technology in Carmarthenshire. Gareth, for those who don't know e-development, can you maybe explain what is it that you do in a nutshell and help businesses?
In a nutshell, we work with subject matter experts to help turn what they know, whatever their subject matter is, into online training. So we take it from wherever it is now, which could be a PowerPoint, it could be Word documents. Very often it's still in their heads. Tease it out of wherever it is and then turn it into an online training project, which they can then use as a project for their staff or for their client base or wherever they need to use it.
Excellent. And you probably say, it's fair to say, a subject matter expert in online training because you're good at getting that out of the person. Because I think, they might have a good idea what they want to get out and teach people, but there's a way of doing it if you want to present that to an online audience, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the fun bit, in fairness, is the working with them and getting the information out. I did one once where he said, I've do this course, I've done it for years, but it's never written down. I have nothing written down. Okay. So he delivered the course to me and we recorded it. I then had it transcribed and I handed it over to him. It's the first time that course had ever been written down.
Wow. So e-development, it wasn't always your ambition to set up an online training company. So where did the sort of career start for you? Because you've taken on running your own business a lot later on in life.
Yeah, true. It's been a varied journey. I think I've done lots of different things in the past. How far you want to go back, really?
Well, financial services, I think. Knowing you and your story, I got a chance to film a case study with you back in 2020. So I already got to know a bit of the story of how it started. But coming out of school, you weren't necessarily entrepreneurial and wanted to start a business?
No. I grew up on a council estate in Caerphilly, and I don't think anybody was very entrepreneurial. I'm sure the word existed then, but it wasn't on our radar. And leaving school, there was a choice of going down the mines. A lot of people went down the mine. A lot of my school friends went to the mines. A lot of people went to work for a well-known pie factory near Caerphilly. But I didn't. None of these ticked my boxes, so I ran off to sea. I joined the Royal Navy, and disappeared. I remember catching the train to Plymouth from Cardiff General. That was an eye-opener from a boy from Council Estate in Caerphilly. So went off to sea for a few years, which was really good.
What did you do when you were in the Royal Navy?
Radar was my specialist. So I sat in a darkened room watching radar signs. It's interesting because this is now May, June. So it's the anniversary of the Falklands, because I happened to be down there on a frontline ship. HMS Glasgow was the ship.
Ah.
Yeah, and so it's always a bit reflective, really, this time of year. Quite often we have a get-together in Portsmouth with a lot of the old boys, particularly old boys now, some of them.
You're not old?
No, but some of them are, because I was only 20.
Yeah.
So it was quite young. And being in the operations room, you get to know what's going on, which could be a good thing and sometimes not such a good thing, because you know what's happening around you. So we had a couple of moments where it was quite dodgy.
So you were a Caerphilly boy, off to the Navy, and then you met Sue, and you settled in Gloucester. You left Wales.
Yeah. While I was away, I had a phone call, and I said, we're moving. Obviously, they liked me enough to tell me where they were going, so I came back from a trip abroad to a different house. They moved. So they moved from Caerphilly to Gloucestershire. And as quite early on during that time, near Cirencester, I met Sue. Got together. Was sort of the start of the end of my naval career, really, because there was no way I was going to be married in the Navy. So left the Navy, started just trying to find work, find out what I was wanted to do. Took me years. I'm not sure I ever quite found out what I wanted to do while I was in Gloucestershire. I moved from job to job to job to job. 3 redundancies.
3 redundancies?
3 redundancies, different things from different things. And each one was a complete, left turn from what I was doing. Mm. So I ended up you mentioned financial services early on. So I ended up working for a building society, the Chelsea Building Society. Cracking company. Really, really good bunch of people.
How long were you in Chelsea Building Society?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years. Excellent. Really worked for the training department. I started there. I went on from cover maternity leave, and I was doing Word, Excel, PowerPoint training. So I'd done training in the past, even things like driving instruction and stuff like that. I'd done lots of things involving training of people. So I ended up in the training department, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And in these days, you used to fill the room with 20 bodies and teach them every button there was to know about Word, Excel, whatever. And you could see them 2 days worth of full on, this button does this button does that. And you'd see them lose faith in that they're ever going to get out of the room. And I talked to my boss, I said, there's got to be a better way of doing this, because after 2 days, nobody's remembering every single button there is in Word. And he said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go to the departments, find out what they do, and then do 6 things in Word that will change your life. Really punchy courses just for that department. So I went to the arrears department, watched them work, and found out, teach them 6 things. So we used to run those, and the departments loved them, because it was so is that what that paintbrush is? Find out about the painter and the selection bar down the left. You watch them, and they were trying to highlight a word with their mouse so they could bold it. I said, just click in the word and click on, or Control B. My word.
Change your life.
Yeah, just tiny little things. Because if you grow up with things like Word, you just learn what you learn, and you do a particular way, never really experiment, especially if it's in a job. But so we got involved with that.
Years ago, that used to be a real thing. You would put on your CV quite proudly, I am efficient in the Microsoft Office suite. Yeah. Whereas now it's kind of it's standard, isn't it? You have to know how to work Word, Google Docs, or spreadsheets and things. It's kind of just expected in most admin office jobs, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And this, I think people are still probably trying to highlight the word
Yeah.
rather than just click on it, and the selection bar on the left, people loved that. Two clicks for the paragraph and 3 clicks for the whole document. And they go, I can't believe you can do that.
So you were a teacher at this point.
Yeah.
Teaching
basically.
courses
Yeah.
In the building society. And yeah, you worked there for 10 years, and it's sort of during the financial crash in 2008.
2008, yeah. That's when it all went a bit pear-shaped. As well as the training, I got involved in doing their online training for them. Because at the time, the process for training the branch staff was like you'd send out a document, say anti-money laundering, and a form which said they all had to sign these things, and then somebody in HR would spend 6 months chasing the form. There's got to be a better way of doing this. And they said, well, you're the techie one, go and sort it. So I got involved in e-learning. Did that for 6-7 years for the Chelsea Building Society. And then, financial crash. Things came to an end. They merged the Chelsea with the Yorkshire Building Society. And there was no room for Gareth Harris and his e-learning team anymore. So I up sticks and moved.
And this was this your third redundancy?
Third redundancy, yeah.
What was that like? You would experience redundancies. I guess that's not a nice. It's not.
Process. I had a bit of a clue on this one.
Okay, so it wasn't so much of a shock.
No, because we knew that the writing was on the wall. Because the Yorkshire also had an e-learning development team, which I knew actually because we used the same software. So we used to meet up at conferences. So I knew them quite well. So we knew it was never going to be a long-term thing.
But it was probably the case of either Chelsea would go to Yorkshire.
They were it was a merger, but they were the bigger party.
Oh, okay.
In this particular setup. So we weren't going to be there for any length of time, and they wanted to sell because we were in Cheltenham, so we had a really nice, expensive bit of land that they wanted to use for, it's now housing estate now, or posh flats.
Wow.
So we upsticked, moved to Ammanford. My daughter had been over here in university, so we'd come back and forth quite a lot and liked the area, so it's better than going back to Caerphilly. That was never a plan.
So you ended up in Ammanford with no job. And what was the intention to start the business there and then, or did you go out and look for work? How did that story start, the video development?
I started another business first, in fairness, in Gloucestershire before we moved. Because while I was under Chelsea, I did lots of personal development stuff. So I did NLP and master NLP, practitioner, all that sort of stuff. So I went down the route of, you go to a lot of these networkings and there's somebody that will fix you doing something or other. Well, I went down that route initially. I had a company called Positive Doing. Because my thought was, you need to do something, not just think about it. And I used to go networking. And when I came over here, I started networking. And people say, oh, yeah, there are 3 or 4 other people in the room who were also fixers, for want of a better word. And I'd have a one-to-one with them, and I'd start chatting. They said, well, tell me about this e-learning stuff. And they were really interested in the e-learning. They were really interested in the positive doing bit. So I made another switch in career choice. And I thought, maybe I'm banging the wrong drum here. Maybe I should be concentrating, because I had 7-8 years of e-learning experience to develop that. So I started e-development, and first of all, just needed to meet people because I didn't know anybody. And it's really difficult to move house to a place where you don't know anybody and start a business.
Very tough.
Yeah, I won't be doing that again.
But now you know everyone.
I know a few. And I like a lot, the people I know. And I have a thought on networking. When you hear somebody say, I know somebody who, if somebody asks me, do I know somebody who knows videoing? How to do? I know somebody who, and your name is already at the end of that sentence. So if your name is at the end of the sentence, you know you've done a good job in networking. Yeah. So I get calls now, and they'll say, "Oh, I've been speaking to somebody, and they've said I need to speak to you." And that's where I get a lot of my business from now, is just people to ring up and say, "I've been speaking to somebody," and they say, I need to speak to you because I'm interested in e-learning.
Yeah, that's, I think, setting and establishing a business in a community you're not from. Yeah, it's tough because you have no network, don't you? You had to build that, and going back to 2008. Yeah, you've been in business 20? I'm trying to do the maths. 15 years.
I actually left the building site in 2009. I think it was. The crash was 2008. Hung around for a year in Gloucestershire, and then moved 2010, 2011. Started it. So it's been 14, 15 years now.
That's a long time in business. Yeah, still going.
Still going, still here.
Still here. But yeah, to just go up and leave, and not just down the road. I mean, if you were in Caerphilly, born and living in Caerphilly, and then you moved to Ammanford, there'd probably be some connections there, but to be living in Gloucester for so many years, yeah, you would come here with no network. So you've had to build that from scratch.
And no family, because we left them all in Gloucester.
Yeah.
My son and my daughter both had jobs and things there. They all lived there. But they came over to visit, and within 3 years, they all live in Ammanford.
Oh, great.
They all moved over. They followed us over, which is great because I get to see my grandkids and all that. Yeah. So... We all now have a family community all in the Ammanford area.
Networking, okay, is for me as an extrovert, something I find pretty easy, and I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy connecting. For you, networking, how do you see that as a term, as the act of... Because a lot of people, especially introverted people don't like socialising, but maybe they've started a business. They can find that really tough. I think, what for you is the easiest way to build your network? Is it going to events? Is that the best way to build your network?
Initially, I think, because there are people that are willing to, if it's a good network, are willing to listen and willing to share. And, it's not enough time to make all the mistakes yourself. You have to learn from other people's mistakes and other people's triumphs, So that went well. So what did you do? And so building a network is not just people who buy stuff, and it's not just people that I can sell stuff to. If you rock up to network thinking, just buy my stuff, then you're lucky. Unless you've got widgets that you sell and everybody uses these widgets and you've got the cheapest widgets, you're not going to sell at a networking event. Because it's about the people. You turn up just willing to be open, and you turn up to be interested rather than interesting. So you want to learn about the people in the room. It's not about, oh, this is me. Listen to me. That'll come along. Because people say, well, tell me what you do as well. But if I mean. I think it's Stephen Covey with his 7 tools for highly effective people. One of them was seek first to understand. So just find out about the people in the room.
That's really interesting. I think for me, as someone who is growing in my communication, I think listening, that is such an underrated skill in communication, because I go to some of these events and I just hear people talk at me and just talk and talk and talk. Now, I love talking. You probably know this, Gareth. You know I like to talk.
Shock.
But I think listening, being there and actually, what do you do? Tell me about you. And just that act of listening, that shows a lot, because that shows I care. That shows that I want to get to know you, rather than me just going up and oh, what's your name? Oh, Gareth. Oh, I run a video production company. Do you want a video? Yeah. Do you want a film?
Have a card.
Use a card. Yeah. And I'm almost kind of the opposite with business. I mean, more so sustainability and things. I don't carry physical business cards with me anymore. I've got an app on my phone, a QR code, so I just kind of scan that, which is a bit more practical. But I almost don't encourage people. I almost forget to give my details in some cases. And then if that person likes you that much, they'll want, before you leave, oh, can I get your number? Are you on LinkedIn? Can we connect? There's that, and there's that want to build that connection. But I think, for me, listening is a vital part of building relationships, isn't it? That's what it's all about. It's relationships.
Yeah. I remember a quote. I like my quotes.
You love your quotes.
From years ago, and it's saying, people today need a damn good listening to. Because we don't get, on the whole, we just don't get listened to. And even if somebody is listening, they're really just thinking about their next question.
You said earlier about your sort of career journey. You went through 3 redundancies. I'm thinking about this now, because running a business, it's a big risk, isn't it? It's a big risk to go up and set up your own business. I think starting a business is easy. Running a sustainable, profitable business, that's the difficult challenge. And growing a business, that's even more of a challenge again. Some people think when you're employed, there's security. But actually, in your case, there wouldn't have been a whole lot of security because you've gone through 3 redundancies. So are people that much more secure working in employment?
I guess it depends on the employer. It's interesting being in Wales that so many of the employment decisions are made by people who aren't even in Wales. And Port Talbot's a great example of that. Some board meeting somewhere many, many miles away, stroke of a pen, and a load of people lose their jobs. So in this common, I'm not sure. I know people. I grew up with people who've had job for life, and they've got a great pension at the back end of it, and they work for the same company for 20 years. Don't know where that will happen quite
Private
so much
sector?
anymore. Yeah.
It's public sector. You probably have got a job for life, haven't you?
I haven't crossed too many public sector paths, so I don't know a massive amount
Unless you work in the Home Office or DVLA.
Yeah. So they never came at a good time. Like my kids were very young, and we just got a new house, and you have to just get out and find something to do. No career path. We just need money to come in. So I did all sorts of lumping plasterboard and driving I was white van man for a while.
I can imagine you driving a van.
Yeah, they get in the van and say, "Well, do you want to? You need to go to Felixstowe." What, now? Yeah, off you go. They're waiting for you to deliver this, and that's a long way in a van.
Where's that?
It's like on the East Coast.
Oh wow.
So yeah, white van man, and got into storage, engineer stores, and I was a warehouse manager for Rank Xerox for a while in Mitchell Dean, in the Forest of Dean. It was like a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, where there's great boxes and boxes in a big warehouse, and people with the pump trucks moving pallets about, and then we went to the high racks where narrow trucks, but it was great, but I lost the passion for trying to find a box in a massive warehouse because the line was on stop, and it was sort of computerized, but not. It still involved an individual deciding where it was going to go, and I have memories of walking down a rack saying, "So where might have Denzel put this? Because it's not where it should be." You had to walk down and say, "Well, it's supposed to be in A1. Where might it be?" And it'll be in like D1 or A11 or something. You had to try and think like Denzel. The name comes to mind a lot. Not a lot, but it's one that when I think about trying to find boxes in this warehouse, it was almost always Denzel who'd put it away.
Denzel.
Yeah, and written on the board. So he might have just written the wrong thing.
But nearly 15 years on now, e-development, it's a very established business, and you've had lots of experience working in different industries, different sectors. For you, in talking about business opportunities now, what do most businesses find as a challenge that you can support them with? So, in the online training world, what are some of the typical challenges you overcome working with some businesses in Wales and beyond?
Yeah, one of the things I sort of bring to the party probably the most, because you can get, there's a lot of people doing online training, and if it's something like how to lift a box, I'd go to them, unless it's a very specific box, buy it off the shelf, because you can buy them for like £10 a head or whatever, and that's fairly straightforward. If there's any thing which is very specific you want to cover, then I work with the subject matter expert to get the content, but I also work very hard to get the context right. So the content is the information. The context is how the learner takes it on board and how you make it relevant to them in real life. An example, did health and safety for a steelworks, but it was very specific about staying safe in a steelworks. So, all the examples were about the steelworks in the place. So, that machinery there, and it was for contractors who went into the steelworks. So context is a thing I bring probably most to the party, which makes it bespoke. Generic can only ever really talk about the rules as such, or give you very generic examples. I did some work for a charity, and we did a data protection course. And you quite often you get the data protection. It says, it talks about the data. It talks about the different rules of the data protection. It doesn't really talk about the data they hold and the impact of on them and their company and their clients or their customers if something goes wrong. So we did quite a lot of work with those. And when they, for the data protection one, when they came in to do, on the day we were going to launch this course, there was a picnic bar on each of their desks as they came in. And they came and said, well, so what's the picnic? Why the picnic? When they did the course, one of the parts of the course was about people's own responsibilities as far as how they act with the internal systems. Because loads of the big data breaches currently is normally because somebody on the inside lets somebody in, clicking on a link or whatever, or they get tricked into saying, we're from the ID department, just give me your password and I can go in and fix this thing or whatever. So the picnic, it stands the acronym of problem in chair, not in computer. So they had a picnic bar on their desk and they go, no, hang on. So a lot of the data stuff, the response is actually on me, not clicking on a link, not putting in a USB drive, thinking about my responsibility. So it made it memorable.
Picnic.
Problem
in chair.
Not in computer.
So true, isn't it? Because as we're growing as a business, I think for one thing that's good about working solely by yourself is that risk is minimized. Because if you have that education and that training on cyber, you're gonna not click on a link and things like that. I was actually a victim of ransomware back in 2020. Absolutely horrific. Having all my data held at ransom, and in fact, I had to pay the ransom because I couldn't afford not to lose the data, and I've learned lots of things from that. Yeah. And through that experience, I'm able to manage that data, my customers' data, our own data, and things like that a lot better, and be more secure. But as we're growing the team, I've got a responsibility then to train them. And like for me now, Amy, my wife, Johan, they hate me because we got password managers for everything. But for me, it's absolutely important. It is so vital that we utilize password managers, because that's part of the problem with cyber and the risks is not having a secure password. So for us, it's really, really important that as we're growing, we're training the staff that, we're all on board with this method. No single account is used in a way where we don't have a secure password. Yeah. That's something we all share as a team. Yeah. And because, as you grow, that risk, you can imagine an enormous company, people like, it could be a public sector, NHS, it could be university. It could take one person to make such a big mistake clicking on something that could, pull everything down, tumbling.
Well, apparently that's how the Marks and Spencer was happened.
Really?
Yeah, it was an individual. I think I was reading this. It was somebody rang up and said, "Oh, we're from IT, and there's a problem with the system. But we can fix it straight away. All you need to do is let us log in, and we'll fix it for you," sort of thing. And they were in.
Absolutely crazy. It's scary, but yeah. So it's a very real issue, especially in this day and age. Cybersecurity, and I think there's a huge increase. Obviously, you still have theft in the sense of physical stealing of items, but cybercrime is it's just shot up because it's becoming, or it's not becoming easier, but well, in some cases it is, because you can buy, simple bits of tech. Oh, I'll buy a smart doorbell and I'll buy this. And actually, it could be a vulnerability in your network, and it's an easy open door for somebody to jump in. But it's really important, and especially for somebody like you, who you're utilizing customers' data to build systems, is probably something really important that you've had to get on top of with your team, building customers' platforms.
Yeah. I work with other people. It's not all on me. So e-development is just me, but I have some other techie people that I work with.
In Cum Silicon.
Just because you can't do it all yourself, really. Unless you go down your route and have staff. And I did think about that a few years ago, but decided against it. Thought I'm too long in the tooth now to have to worry about that. So went down the route of then having trusted partners, people that I can call on, whether it be server support, or whether it be videoing or audio stuff or whatever. There are people that I know that I can say, because we've worked together on projects where I was doing the online training, but we needed some video doing, and I know somebody who
does video.
And so James. And that's the way I like to do business. I was to work with people that I know and trust.
Actually, back then, when we worked on that first project together, that was a huge deal for me back then. I probably knows, growing the business, your costs increase and stuff. That sort of figure that I would have worked with is just normal. But back then, being a year of running my business,
quite early on.
Oh my gosh, Gareth! Thanks so much. This is a big job. Thank you. But it was a great experience to partner with you and for us to do the video work, and probably something really, now we're talking about it, something we should explore more on, because if you've got the customer who then needs the video, well, there's an easy way of us working together. And I learned a lot from that experience. There's a lot of learnings in it, and filming in somebody's house probably isn't very practical if you're trying to create a video course. Controlling lighting, controlling sound. I remember this person's neighbour was out trimming the lawn, and I was just like, well, I can't do anything about it. And I'm pretty sure she said a few words to her neighbour. Can you keep it down? Well, stop trimming. But using a studio space.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole point in having a studio like we're in now. It's a controlled environment where you can control the lighting, control the sound. Really important if you want to film a high quality video course, because you want that. I think the simple way of a video course, if you get somebody talking for 10 minutes on screen, it's just got to be evenly lit and crystal clear audio. The audio is probably the most important thing, because if you're going to be listening, and a lot of these people who maybe engaging in the courses, I don't know, some of them might have notepads and they're listening and making notes, maybe not watching it, because you have different methods of delivering the training, isn't there?
Yeah. And I think audio is probably more important than maybe video, because I have people say they might want some video, but they haven't got the budget. So we end up with some good audio. And, just do it somewhere where you're not rattling around like in your kitchen where it's all echoey, and because they're difficult to sort out. You can do them. There's tools, but if they capture it well in the first place,
you won't need the tools to fix it.
Yeah.
AI is pretty good. I mean, some of the tools we use now. Years ago, you used to have to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds on plugins to clean up audio. And some of the AI tools that exist in some of the editing software we use now, you've got Final Cut Pro, what we use, the audio voice isolation in there, Adobe Enhance. There's all these fantastic tools out there that just, really save your bacon in a pinch. But I would always say, get it right in camera. I mean, me and Joe will always have a bit of a laughing joke now when we're on set, and Joe, for those watching, is one of our camera ops, and we'll often say, it could be moving something in the background. It's very easy to just move something for the interview. And we're like, oh, it's fine, Johan will get rid of it. He'll make up his magic and make it disappear. But obviously, if we went to the effort of just moving the thing in the background...
as we did with the telly before we did this.
We had a telly in the background.
You could crop it out.
Johan could have just made it disappear. But it's just things like that. Let's make less work. Because actually, the more work or the more things that you've got to clean up, it just adds to the task of the editing and lengthens the process. But yeah, AI plugins that exist now are unbelievable. I used to have a friend of mine, Dav, who I'd often send some audio to him to clean up. And one of the plugins he had for cleaning audio up was £1,300 a year, a license. It's like, I can't really just... If I'm a mixing engineer, I could maybe justify that sort of cost. But for me, who's in the video world, audio is vital for us as a video production company. But it's a lot of money to pay in a plugin. Whereas now, some of the tools that exist, they almost on par match what a £1,300 plugin can do. So it's great.
I wonder what they're doing now, those businesses.
Well, yeah, they're probably quite scared, because it is actually... you are losing the value of what you pay. With AI, right? Adobe Enhance as an example. It's almost like tweaking a knob. It just does 0 to 100%. Well, some of these plugins will be more sophisticated in advance. You can tweak the frequencies and things like that, which will give you the best result. But if you're in a pinch where it's like run and gun and you need to get a piece of content done really quickly, yeah, it's just it just makes everyone's life easier. But yeah, you're right. They're probably, I think AI, when it comes to people, Gareth, I think you can't replace a presenter talking to camera, because in your world, right, you could probably cut me out and use AI to generate the course content. You absolutely could. This exists, but I think you cannot beat a presenter on camera. You cannot beat a voiceover artist giving a real performance. It just doesn't work. I don't think AI will ever cut it.
And I'm not sure it's quite there yet either. I go to a big event in London, Learning Technologies, which is like loads and loads of big companies that work in this space. And last time it was all AI this, AI that, and you watch them, you go, it's clever, but it hasn't got a lot of soul. And when I talk to subject matter experts, quite often they maybe don't want to do the video. Some of them are up for that, but even if they just do the audio, they do it themselves. We could get a voiceover, we could get AI. But what I find is missing, is the belief behind the content. That knowledge comes across when somebody's talking about something they're very knowledgeable about and they believe in, and even better if they're excited about it.
Yeah, they're enthusiastic, they're confident.
They're great people. And I'd rather have the audio not be 100% if it's somebody who knows what they're talking about and are passionate about it, than have it generated by AI.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll all be the same.
Absolutely.
Yes, you can tweak it. Can we have this person? And we can have that sort of accent, but it can't deliver the belief behind the message.
That's good. I haven't briefed you on this, but hopefully, as an avid listener, you'd get where I'm going with this. This podcast is all about people's stories, and we've gone to hear a little bit about your. We've skimmed over Gareth's history today because there's a lot of it.
Yeah, there was no mobile phones at that, which is probably a good thing.
Or working in Amazon.
Oh yeah.
You forgot about that. We're all about personal stories, and I love to hear of all the people that have inspired all of our guests on the podcast over these last few months. And Gareth, I'd love to ask you, if you were sat here listening, we've talked about listening today as communication. If you were sat here listening to somebody's story, who might that be? If you could think of somebody really influential, inspirational, it could be purely fictional as well. Whose story would you love to hear?
I can link it to this book. Actually, I got a book
Well,
here.
you have got a plethora of books. Every
Yeah,
time I see you on a Zoom call, there'll be a huge bookshelf in the background.
Yeah. And I brought this for another reason, but
We'll get to that.
because I'll use this actually.
Well, use it.
Because this book is...
Show the camera. You got this camera.
It's called Imagineering, The Imagineering Way. And it's a book about the people that work at Disney and the creative people that work at Disney. And they've all added a chapter about what's it all about being creative. Great little book. So I guess from the point of view of a story of somebody who had a belief and had a vision, then Walt Disney is one of those. In the creative space, to be able to move from a thought of, we can put that to some sort of film and do a cartoon, and it created Mickey Mouse, to where it is now with the Disney global machine. Yeah. I can't say it's lost its way, but it's different.
Yeah.
From the day back in the day.
The Star Wars films aren't the same, Gareth.
I've never seen one of those.
Well, the original Lucasfilm ones, whether you go for the original 3 or the 6, the prequels, they're not as good as what Disney made.
Yeah. So you're right. Disney would be one. On a very personal note, I would like to have a chat with my dad, who lost him when I was quite young. Actually, not long before I joined the Navy, actually. So just knowing a bit more about his background, because we never really talked about those things then. So that it would be nice to know a bit more about his history, because there's a big gap in my knowledge, really. So that would also, on a personal, that would be quite nice.
Two very different people. Not many people give me 2 answers, but that's fine, Gareth. We'll let you have 2. But yeah, Walt Disney. Wow, what a man. And your dad. That would be nice, wouldn't it, to get to hear? Because sometimes we could have family who are really, really close, and we don't even know their story because we haven't asked them the questions. I kind of think of that now. Over the years, of thinking, if my Mangin de Key was still here, like he was a miner, and I never really understood, what it was like to be a miner and ask him questions about that part of his life. You think about these things when they go, don't you? Or maybe you never had that opportunity as a young child because you were just unfortunate in that circumstance. But and thanks for sharing that. And every sort of Friday during lockdown, we shared. Oh, you knew this is coming.
Yeah.
Well,
the good times. In not a good. When a time when it wasn't a good time.
Yeah,
because we were all like sat in our own little spaces, didn't we? We had a get together online.
We had a get together, and I met you as a student when I was studying film in Trinity in Carmarthen. I met you. I think I just said hello to you, and you were co-working.
I was co-working up in Egging, yeah.
Yeah, and I just, what a surprise! I introduced myself to you. I'm doing video. Do you want a video? Here's a card. No, it wasn't like that at all. But yeah, we got to meet in Reagan, and we've developed a relationship over all these years. But then during lockdown, I think it was in Harad's sort of idea then to start a Friday get together on Zoom every week. Just to support one another and check in. And I think, at the time it was vital. So myself, you, Steve, Dave Jones. It was just a great time to share and check in and support each other. And it's great that over these years we sort of kept that business relationship.
I got goosebumpy.
Have you?
Yeah, thinking about that, because it was a real highlight to the week, wasn't it?
It was. Because I was looking forward to that 1 hour lunchtime on a Friday.
He'd had 4.5 days of on your own because nobody was going anywhere.
Yeah,
it wasn't a buy my stuff. It wasn't a. It was a. How's it been? How have you got on this week? What are we up to?
And it was real. It wasn't,
Yeah.
I think we could be in a position, I think networking, it's always, I don't know if it happens with you, Gareth, maybe I shared this with you previously. Oh, how's business? Oh, amazing. Mental, crazy, flat out. You know, we don't really want to say, and it was really refreshing. I was at the For the Region AGM with yourself, was it last week or the week before?
Yeah, last week.
And I was asking somebody, and he said, he swore, he said, yeah, it's not great. I was like, oh, wow. Like, for me, it was really refreshing because to have somebody actually be honest, that was like, wow, okay. I'm sorry it's not great, but I said, you know, thanks for sharing and being vulnerable because, yeah. But in that space, we were allowed to say, well, actually, it's not been great. I've not had a good week.
Yeah.
It's a good place to do that.
It was good.
But every week, you would share a quote without fail. In fact, I think we were all sharing quotes.
Yeah, we were, yeah.
But yours were the best, Gareth. And without even asking you, I think you've got one for us.
Yeah. Well, we were on a net walking not very long ago.
Yes.
And we were walking along the Millennium Path. He said, well, where's your quote then, Gar? I think, oh. So
on the spot.
Whenever I bump into you, I know to be prepared. So I went for this book because it's about creatives. I thought I'll find one which is actually videoing related.
Oh,
okay.
Love it.
And it says, hearing something 500 times is not as good as seeing it once. So that's a videographer's version. Yeah.
And there are multiple authors in that book?
No, they're all people that worked for Disney as one of their Imagineers.
Yeah. So who would have written that quote?
That was a Chinese proverb, that one.
Chinese proverb? Oh, okay. Well, thank you, China. Gareth, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a bit about your journey. And yeah, to see you've been going for 15 years, it's incredible. And yeah, I'm very grateful for the friendship that we have in business and for you fighting my corner and sharing the flag, waving the Story Cymru flag in all these events. And yeah, going to hear a little bit more about your story. I thought I knew you, but actually, there's a lot I didn't know about you, which we're going to learn today. But if those maybe want to engage with you, want to learn more, maybe they need some content, contextualizing an online training platform, which you're the man.
I'm the man.
And how can people find out more about eDevelopment?
They can go to the website, edevelopment.co.uk, ring me, ring you. I'm on all the places, LinkedIn, X, but I don't really use that as a business tool. It's more of a research tool, really.
And you'll be there at local networking events.
And I'll be most local networking events, yeah.
Good.
Because I still like bumping in and meeting people.
You can't beat it. There's lots of online ones, but you can't beat in person, can you? Well, Gareth, thanks for coming down from Cwm Silicon, Ammanford. And yeah, thank you for sharing your story.
Croeso, diolch.